NHL News Ketchup, Friday, January 4th, 2019. What do you think of the new name, huh? I kind of like it. I might keep it, at least for a little while. Also new, my Captain Ahab beard. Yes, a lot of people think it's gross. But in any case, to the board, Batman. Vancouver Canucks Elias Pettersson got an MRI today after suffering a right knee injury against the Montreal Canadiens, a game in which they lost 2-0. He got tangled up with Kakanyemi. There was no intent there or anything. It was just an accident. Now there's no timetable yet for his return. You like my pretty pictures? Huh? And right now he leads all rookies with 42 points, 17 ahead of the next guy, which is Colin White of the Ottawa Senators, according to Sportsnet. For some reason, that doesn't seem right to me. But in any case, Vancouver's next game, which will end their 6-game road trip, will be against the Toronto Maple Leafs in Toronto, obviously. Which is kind of a bummer for Toronto fans because I'm sure it's the only time Vancouver will be visiting the city, and they won't get a chance to see their Calder star player. Next up, the Dallas Stars. Ben will not play tonight versus the Washington Capitals. This is the coach's call. He says it's just precautionary. He could play, but he's gonna save him for their next game. He got hit pretty hard in their last game against New Jersey by Wood, I want to say, and he kind of was slow to get up. So next up, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hutchinson will start versus the Vancouver Canucks, as I mentioned earlier, on Saturday. Now Hutchinson was acquired via Florida in a trade for, I want to say, a 5th-round pick or something. And he was toiling away in the AHL for a while because he had a really bad start up in Florida for the first quarter of the season. You know, when Luongo was hurt and Reimer was hurt at one point, and he wasn't that good at all. In the AHL, he was better. He played one game for the Marlies before, in which he won before he played his first game in Toronto, which was their last loss against the Minnesota Wild. He got called up last minute. I mean, the coach hadn't even met him. And he had a pretty decent game. He let in one stinker, which went right through him. But otherwise, I mean, he stopped a lot of, high caliber chances for Minnesota. Now, Sparks is still out. He's officially has a concussion as of today. He got that in a practice, I want to say, not yesterday, the day before yesterday, in which it had to be William Nylander who shot the puck too. Just clonked him in the head. So who knows how long he's gone for. It didn't look that bad in the footage, but with concussions, you never know. Anderson is still out with a nagging groin injury. Now, they're just being precautionary with Anderson and they didn't want to play him too much anyways because of what happened last year or the last couple of years really in the playoffs. Maybe he had a few games there in the playoffs where he wasn't his best. Perhaps it was because they played him too much, so they want to keep his games closer to 60 as opposed to 65. So maybe that's part of the reason. Casimir Kazakuso, which I'm probably butchering, he's a Finnish goalie. The Leafs have played mostly, has been playing for the Marlies, their AHL affiliate. He was called up to back up Hutchinson the other day, but they sent him back down to the Marlies today. I would think they would need him back on the bench on Saturday. Babcock alluded in an interview with that the Leafs might be looking for yet another goaltender. But I don't know if they're not going to get lucky with anything off of waivers because first thing I thought, didn't Ottawa just traded McKenna to Vancouver in this multiplayer swap, and then Vancouver put him on waivers. I was like, maybe the Leafs can grab him. No, that's not happening because the Flyers. The next piece of news here claimed him off of waivers. Yeah, from Vancouver. He's I want to say he's like 35. This must be crazy for him. Like being part of three teams in the span of 3 days, basically. 35-year-old goalie. Did I say that already? Um, and yeah, he's been around. So he's added now to that now, which will be a 7 goalie carousel in Philadelphia. So I assume Carter Hart will be sent back down to the AHL. Thank God for him, to continue with his development. So he doesn't get any. He doesn't just forget being a goaltender by playing in Philly right now, because it's just not a good environment. With a coach who you don't know how long he's going to be there for. He's the interim right now, and just all the uncertainty around them. There might be a fire sale there soon. They're losing games, for the most part, pretty badly. So that could be good news. However, that means the Leafs can't grab him. So that means maybe they'll be looking for another goalie somehow in a trade. Maybe Ian Scott. I'm not sure. I know Ian Scott plays in the WHL and he's been tearing it up there. And of late, he was the backup for the most part for Canada in the World Juniors. I don't know if the Leafs can technically recall him and bring him to the Marlies or not. And that but still, he has no AHL or NHL experience. So you would think Toronto would be looking for that at least, which is one of the reasons why they might have grabbed McKenna. I'm really digressing here, going off on a tangent. But back to the next piece of news here. Vancouver Canucks recall 23-year-old goaltender Thatcher Demko. This is all connected. From the AHL Utica Comets. The Utica Comets. The Utica, now, so far in 16 games down with Utica in the AHL, he's had an 8-5-1 record with a 9.11 save percentage and 2.58 goals against. Now, so as you know, in that trade between Ottawa and Vancouver, they sent their backup Nielsen to Ottawa, and they got McKenna, who they immediately placed on waivers. So this kind of all makes sense. You'd think that, in order to make room for Demko, in which he'll probably now stick around for the rest of the season as Markstrom's backup, get him a little bit of experience, get him a taste of it, because he's been in the AHL for 3 seasons now, and in 107 games, he's had a 55-35-12 record with a .915 save percentage and 2.56 goals against. I mean, everyone's been hearing about this guy for so long and how good he is and how good he will be. Although his numbers haven't been fantastic in the AHL, I mean, look at the Smith from Pittsburgh. I think he had similar numbers in the AHL, and he's done really well for the Penguins so far this season. He's had really good numbers. Next bit of news here, also interconnected, is somewhat the Ottawa Senators. Center Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Remember him? Yeah, he was injured. He 20. I want to say he's 22, 23 years old. He's a great two-way center. He's really responsible defensively, and he tore his Achilles heel in the first game of exhibition, the very first game. And he was stated to be out for anywhere from 4 to 6 months. So anywhere between, I want to say, between February, late February and April. And he's going to be back Sunday versus the Carolina Hurricanes. So the Carolina Hurricanes, after missing 41 games this season. And so that's huge. That's huge news for Ottawa, who could really use him right now, because they're toiling at the bottom of the East, with even less points than Philadelphia, believe it or not. So, if you're Ottawa, you obviously don't want to finish last, because whatever that pick you get in the lottery, God forbid it's number 1, will go to the Colorado Avalanche. So for pride, you just cannot finish last, or at least not in the bottom 3. If I'm the coach or the GM, I'm like, just please finish the bottom 4 or up. That's all I ask. Just don't be in that bottom 3. In any case, so Nielsen will, who was recently acquired from Vancouver, 3 degrees of separation here. He will start on Saturday versus the Minnesota Wild, who just came off of a win from the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-3, which was yesterday. And in some other news, they're there's now superstar defenseman in Shabbat, who's been out with an upper body injury, and Craig Anderson, who's been out with a concussion. They both skated today. Now, only Anderson seems to be closer to a return than Shabbat is, but those are two guys they could really use now, obviously. Last bit of news here from the Buffalo Sabres. Jack Eichel, who missed yesterday's game against the Florida Panthers, will miss at least one more against the Boston Bruins this Saturday with an upper body injury. He'll be day to day after that, so it's not guaranteed he'll be back in their next game, but he'll be day to day, and he'll be reevaluated. This was an injury he suffered. Anyways, they say he was banged up against the New York Islanders on January 31st, in which was a loss. I think they lost 3-1. So the earliest game that he might play will be on this coming Tuesday against the New Jersey Devils. Tonight's games, there's 7 of them. Winnipeg Jets versus Pittsburgh Penguins, Nashville Predators versus Detroit Red Wings, Columbus Blue Jackets versus the Carolina Hurricanes, the Washington Capitals versus the Dallas Stars, New York Rangers versus Colorado Avalanche, New Jersey Devils versus the Arizona Coyotes, and the Vegas Knights versus the Anaheim, I was going to say Golden Ducks there for a second, the Anaheim Ducks. The game of the night / games of the night, for me would be Winnipeg, definitely Winnipeg versus the Jets. Pittsburgh has been on a tear lately, and they've been catching up to. I believe they may have just passed Columbus in the standings, and they're catching up to Washington. So, and the Winnipeg has been playing well of late as well. So that'll be a real big test, especially for Winnipeg. I think Pittsburgh has won like 5 or 6 in a row, something crazy like that. They're back, yeah. What other game? This could also be a really good game. The Vegas Golden Knights against the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks, as you probably know, have lost 5 or 6 in a row now. Vegas is on a bit of a winning streak. So, yeah, we'll usually when teams are in such opposite positions like that, something's got to give. So you never know. So the Ducks could walk away with this one. This could be an interesting game too. Washington against Dallas, because Washington is close. They're looking over their shoulder right now because Pittsburgh and Columbus aren't far behind, and they're both, of course, playing on the same night. So yeah, and of course Dallas just needs to keep on winning right now because in order to keep that like a wild card spot, for the playoffs. Because I know Anaheim has the other one at the moment, but Edmonton and Minnesota are looking, to push one of those guys out. And Minnesota is I believe, won 2 in a row now, and they're facing Ottawa on Saturday, who hasn't exactly have the best record as you well know. New Jersey, will they play Blackwood? Will they throw Schneider in there? Will Kincaid be back? I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think one of them is out with an injury still. I think it's Schneider. But he might be back on Saturday. Colorado here has lost like 5 or 6 in a row. So that'll be interesting to see if they can break that versus the Rangers. And Detroit's on quite a bit of a big losing streak right now, 5 or 6 game, and Nashville now has Arvidsson back, and he looks like he hasn't lost a step. So on their top line there, Forsberg there's a chance he might play on Saturday, I hear. So Yeah, we'll see. In any case, thank you so much for watching. I may do a game review tonight. I'm not too sure. If I do a game review, it'll be of the Winnipeg Pittsburgh game, and maybe the Vegas Ducks game. We'll see. But you can look out for that later tonight if it does come up. Hit like if you like this video. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you have any Hockey Geek friends, hey, don't feel shy about sharing. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.